Sponsored by Saily. Psst, here's a little peek behind the Mr. Mobile curtain. I had actually planned to publish this video before my Galaxy Flip8 review, but then I remembered that I'd booked a sightseeing cruise to Alaska. And frankly, there was just no way I was entrusting those once-in-a-lifetime memories to a phone camera without optical zoom, such as the one on the Flip8. So thanks for your patience waiting for this one. And also, there was another benefit. The Fold8 Ultra is simply better suited to a trip where you don't want to be too connected, bring a laptop along, but you also don't want to be confined to a tiny smartphone screen the whole time. And I was also interested in exploring the other question being bandied about in the wake of the other Fold8 launch. With this wider form factor winning over so many hearts and minds, is there still a place for the squares that got us here? The answer, I'm sure, will shock you, and it goes like this. Yes. Yes, this size and shape still works so well, thanks in large part to the refinements Samsung brought this year. The magnets, hinge, enclosure, and even display material have been tuned specifically to make the Fold8 Ultra easier to open, and that attention to detail pays off every time you use the phone. At the same time, the hinge preserves the friction essential to flex mode, the posture capability deleted from the Fold8. That means the Ultra can still serve as its own makeshift mini laptop for watching videos, or, for blights on society like myself, making them. Yeah, the Flip might be the influencer phone, but you'd be surprised how often I rely on flex mode even on the big boys to get that B-roll while hands-free, not to mention the cover display preview that lets me frame up the reckless shooting that I'm sure will get me into trouble someday. And with dimensions of 8.9mm folded and 215 grams in the hand, the Fold8 Ultra is just as svelte as the Fold 7, and that means it's substantially smaller than the competition from Google and Motorola. Now, as you know, it's never a perfect upgrade. After dipping its toes in some truly striking shades of blue last year, Samsung has scampered back to muted colors, to which I say, boo. It really takes a solar flare to make this violet shadow read as anything resembling purple. Most of the time it looks more like a muddy, dried-up dead rose. The finish is also easy to scratch if you're careless, like me, and like all phones in this series, it tends to run a little hot, even in Alaska. Probably thanks to the combination of the folding form factor, with its tight space constraints, and the specially overpowered Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chipset. It also might have something to do with me frequently running these new 3000 nit displays at full brightness to stand up to the summer sun, but it was worth it. This phone was fully readable, whether I was chasing waterfalls through the viewfinder, rereading Plum Island for the 50th time on the Kindle app, or getting productive in pocket laptop mode, checking emails by the pool. And I should mention that it's not just about raw brightness. The new anti-reflective coating deserves much of the credit for making the main screen more readable. Now, did I miss the wider aspect ratio of the fatter Fold8 over the past week? Absolutely. But I wonder how much of that is down to straight-up novelty. After all, I've been carrying long and thin foldables non-stop since the very beginning, and that familiarity has bred a certain degree of boredom. If you're more into the tall drink of water than a short king, this adds the same functional value, so it really boils down to personal preference. That's not true when we come around to the cameras. The key reason I chose the Ultra for this review window is that it carries the best camera Samsung has been willing to fit to a foldable. That's faint praise, I know. But what I came away with after a week traveling north to the future surprised me. I spend as much time as I can traveling by sea, which makes it appropriate that this video should be sponsored by a brand called Saily. It's a global eSIM service that makes it easy to stay connected when traveling abroad. That means no more trips to unfamiliar carrier stores or airport vending machines. You just download the Saily app before you go, choose a plan, and tell it which of over 200 countries you're visiting. The eSIM installs automatically, and your plan activates as soon as you reach your destination. Every Saily plan comes with an ad blocker and virtual location features. And this is pretty neat. With the new add-on, you can also get a temporary US phone number with voice calls and SMS, which means there's no need to give your real number out to every hotel and shop you visit. And true to its name, Saily's new cruise plans keep you connected on ships run by over 19 passenger lines around the world, including a personal favorite, the Queen Mary 2. So before you sail anywhere, get Saily. You'll get 15% off eSIM data plans if you download the Saily app and use code MrMobile at checkout, or just go to mrmobile.com/Saily for the same 15% off. Thanks to Saily for sponsoring this video. It took me about an hour in Alaska to realize that the 49th state is just as potent a cheat code for phone cameras as the 50th. Now, yes, my choice of a cruise as a means of experiencing the last frontier is unquestionably touristy and coddled. But you know me, I love ships. And the beauty of this part of the world is even the tourist trap stuff tends to be incredible. Hey! I pointed the Z Fold8 Ultra at everything our shore excursions had to offer, from waterfalls to wildlife, and the industries that depend on it. At first, I was worried about being stuck with this phone, remembering that the telephoto camera is saddled not just with a paltry 3x telephoto lens, but also a tepid 10-megapixel sensor. That annoyance is real, and so is Samsung's perpetual propensity to overexpose. And all the other aggravations I always call out on Samsung phones, they're here too. If you don't like shooting with the Galaxy S, you're not going to like shooting with a Galaxy Z. But then I started posting from our adventure, and I noticed I didn't need to edit the photos I was getting out of the 200-megapixel main camera almost ever. Now, Samsung gave barely a mention to its color processing this year, so maybe this is just a side effect of me instinctively ratcheting down the exposure on every shot. But colors do seem more natural than before, with better preserved shadows. The new ultra-wide hardware helps too. A 50-megapixel sensor replaces the tired old 12, which I appreciated for less jarring transitions in quality between focal lengths in photo and video alike. Now, I don't want to carry too much water for this thing. If you're going to a place like Alaska and you're committed to using a phone camera, then frankly you want something like a Galaxy S Ultra or an iPhone Pro or an Oppo Find X series. And yes, it's still insane that we're making these kind of compromises on a phone that starts at $2,100. But as Spock says, it's sauce for the goose. These compromises are endemic to the category. I mean, here in the States, Google and Motorola aren't bringing meaningfully better camera hardware to their foldables either. Plus, when you stack up the Fold8 Ultra against its wider, non-Ultra stablemate, it doesn't take long before you start to see the difference that telephoto makes to zoom performance. Oh, and just to say it, if you're considering seeing Alaska by ship, I can recommend Holland America without hesitation. The Nordem was easy to fall for and very difficult to leave. Not sponsored content, just giving credit where it's due. Samsung's other improvements to the Fold8 Ultra were also well-suited to travel. Our itinerary often afforded only like a half hour of downtime between appointments, and the faster charging fitted this year means that even 15 minutes on an outlet can take a dead battery to 45%, as long as you've got a charger capable of 45 watts or more. Dead batteries were thankfully not common. The phone always lasted the full day, even on the camera-heavy shooting days that were common on my trip. And here too, it's hard to criticize Samsung for not matching the competition in sheer capacity. While Motorola and Oppo each boast bigger batteries, the Razr is thicker and heavier, and the Oppo uses a different silicon carbon saturation that Samsung says it wanted to avoid for longevity reasons. Meanwhile, the hefty Pixel 11 Pro Fold somehow has a smaller battery than all these, maybe thanks to the MagSafe charging that everyone else continues to omit. So I think the upgrades Samsung decided on this year were strategically sound. We'll see how it all holds up once Apple finally wades into the space next month, allegedly. Oh, and speaking of Apple, the AirDrop compatibility that I mentioned in my Flip8 review is just as handy here. I didn't realize how many times during the day I need to share files across Android and Apple devices, and the new Quick Share makes it so much easier. As always, whether you think any foldable earns its outsized price tag will depend on what you want from a phone. Prices will rise, politicians will philander, you too will get old. Sorry, but if a pocket tablet is what you're in the market for, Samsung's been doing it longer than anyone else, and this is the most refined take on a book-type foldable anyone's put out so far. The only spec I'm truly irritated isn't here is proper dust resistance, which I've talked about in my other videos from the past few weeks. Now, if you're between the Fold8 Ultra and the regular Fold8, well, I went for the Short King out of novelty and pocketability, but then I'm a bad role model because I always carry more than one phone. For the less insane, the added capabilities Samsung added to the Ultra do justify its $200 premium, in my opinion, even if this aspect ratio is maybe wearing out its welcome, and even if those upgrades are more sensibly balanced than the bombastic spec powerhouse a name like Ultra might suggest. Next up on the review desk is Google's Pixel 11 Pro Fold. Yes, I'm late to it because of that Alaska expedition, and no, I don't regret that for a second. Thank you for your patience, nevertheless. Subscribe to Mr. Mobile so you don't miss that review when it drops, and check out the rest of my Fold8 coverage while you're at it. This review was produced following 3 weeks with the Galaxy Fold8 Ultra review sample, which was provided by Samsung, and that company also provided travel and accommodation so I could attend its launch event in London last month. But I never give any manufacturer any editorial control over or even an early preview of any of my content. Samsung is seeing this for the first time right alongside you. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, thanks for watching. And stay mobile, my friends.